happiness and peace. You are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode.
What would you recommend?
Peace TV presents
What do you have to say about
Learning the Wise Way.
what would you recommend us to take as career?
After we pass our school, so what exactly we should do?
What do you have to say about pursuing two fields together?
Ideas brilliant. Strategy sustained.
The best profession is a profession of a person who invites people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Avail the opportunity with Dr. Zakir.
Depending upon what is your interest. But the main aim should be to spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
To implement the convincing Islamic educational formula to excel in your career. Watch Career Guidance every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV. Peace TV Network, the solution for humanity.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome back. This is your host, Gabriel Romania. We are watching Defense Against Disaster, where we are teaching you how to defend your faith against the attacks of people who want to misguide you, people who want to cause confusion. People want to cause confusion in your house, in your community, in the ummah. And we are targeted. We are in the forefront of this attack. And you'll find people, sadly, now getting confused. Muslims are slowly saying, well, this doesn't make sense really, or that doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I don't agree with this interpretation. I don't agree with this hadith, this ayah. Let me, I don't know, I'll just live my life and so on. And the reality is that these things don't come just from people, from their nature, or from inside. These things are sparked by people, by media, by the people who are really working around the clock to try to confuse the masses. In the previous episode, we continued talking about general counter techniques. And today we reached point number 6. And it is using wisdom. Now, wisdom is something very important. Some scholars have defined wisdom as putting the right thing in the right place at the right time. Okay? You need to understand what argument to use when, with who, how. You can't just have to everyone use the same type of argument. The Prophet ﷺ used to make sure he understands who he talks to, and you'll find him sometimes giving the same question a different answer. There's no contradiction there. He used wisdom. Someone would come and ask him something, and he'll tell him something. Because for that person, that would be the answer. And someone would come and ask him the same question, and you'd give him a different answer. Because for that person, that was the correct answer. So you see, this is wisdom. To understand, putting the right thing in the right place at the right time. It might be sometimes that people will ask you a question, and when you know your audience and who's around you, you'll say, you know what, I don't have to answer this question right now. If you want to talk to me about this, we can talk in person. Why? Because you're using wisdom. You don't want to confuse the masses. And at the same time, sometimes you want to answer that question in front of people because you know that it's needed. And if you don't, it's going to cause confusion. Remember, your duty is not to destroy someone in an argument. Even though you have to sometimes show the reality and you have to make an example out of some people. And we find some scholars. We find the example of Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah be pleased with him, who used to debate some of the atheists, some of the people who, I remember, he was late for one of the debates. And the people said, what's wrong? Why are you late? So he said, look, I came upon a river and I couldn't cross because there was no bridge. So I waited till all of a sudden, all the trees, some trees start falling down and hitting each other, and they became into like a boat, and then I was able to cross. And they said, what is this nonsense? You know very well that trees don't just fall down and come, they form a boat. They said, you believe that this whole universe happened just like that, and you have a hard time believing that? And then obviously the argument was very clear. See, you have to use wisdom. You have to understand who you deal with what. Look at Musa when he went to Fir'aun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him to speak a word of kindness to him. Right? So some people, you have to be very careful and speak kindness to them. Even to some tyrants, you don't start from a very negative position. You want to be careful how you will speak to them sometimes. In any way, if you want to, as we said in the previous episode, the most important point when it comes to wisdom is to always go back to the basics. Always go back to what? To the basics. Okay? This is the wisest thing that I can tell you. If you take anything from this course, if you have taken anything from these previous episodes that we have done, that in the end of the day, wisdom is to understand yourself, your limits, and use the proper channels for directing them towards Dawah. The best thing that I can tell you, the best advice is, brothers and sisters, always go back to the basics. I hope that is clear. Moving on, let us start now with the examples and some of the most or the greatest misconceptions that people have about Islam. I'm going to try to take them in order. I'm going to try to elaborate as much as I can. And these are the ones that we found that are some of the most common. Now, there are a lot more. And again, if you want to find more about the articles that we write and the misconceptions that we answer, you go to icraa.org, iqra.org, and you'll find a lot of articles in detail using academic and international citation standards with abstracts, with works cited pages, using some of the classical texts and the most authentic, inshallah, and reliable texts. So now you want to pay attention. Now you want to write even in more detail, and you want to turn back to these notes. Again, if you are the person who decides that you want to do something about this, that you want to become a champion for Islam, that you want to defend your community. So I hope that you are ready. Here we go. Bismillah. One of the first accusations that we see is what? If I say to you, complete the sentence, Muslims are blank, what will you say? Even if you're a Muslim, you'll say terrorist. Okay? So the first accusation is that Islam is a violent religion. And I want to make here a point very clear. With every action, there's a reaction. So what happens is, this is not the correct understanding, but people have gone on the defense. And because they have done so, they have actually changed things. So now what we hear from the du'at and people who always try to, sometimes sugarcoat things, they say Islam is a religion of peace. Well, Islam is a religion that inclines toward peace, without a doubt. Or no, they'll say Islam is peace. Well, that's not actually correct. Because if we look into the history of Islam, there was battles. Like in the history of every civilization, everything, America was built on war. Any country that you look into their history, there was war. Okay, this is, as a writer said, that the only time that mankind was at peace is when they reloaded their weapons. Okay, war always existed. Now, if there's the history of Islam, does that make Islam as a violent religion? The reality is no. If we look in the Constitution of the United States of America, If you look into the constitution in any country, you will find without a doubt that there are articles that pertain or are related to war. Does that mean that that country is a country of war? The answer is no. If any person objectively analyzes the verses of the Quran that talk about war, you find that they're very, very few. Okay? So how did this misconception come about? Again, it was because people with ill intentions wanted to create this misunderstanding for people to fear Islam. And once they fear Islam, then remember, they have caused the problems and they will also offer the solution. They say, oh, Islam is violent, these extremists, these terrorists. But don't worry, I'll protect you. We are the ones who will stand against together, okay, the war on terror. Look at this slogan that everyone says it. We know what happened with that slogan and what happened in the history of the 21st century. How we've been affected by this, just by a slogan, the war on terror. Muslims are terrorists. People started repeating it more and more and more. What's called the repetitive effect. Meaning when you say something over and over and over and over again, the first time it's like, well, second time, third time, okay. Fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. By the seventh, eighth time, you start saying, this is the truth. This is the repetitive effect. Islam is a violent religion. Islam is a violent religion. Islam is a violent religion. So again, what happened to the reaction? The people say, no, Islam is peace. Islam is peace. Islam is peace. And both of them are wrong. Both of them are wrong. Because Islam is a religion of monotheism. Islam is a religion that has peace at its core, of course, but has also war. There's war. Islam is a religion that teaches human beings how to conduct themselves, how to live at peace, of course. But when there's danger and that peace has to be broken, it happens. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. I hope that you're excited. I hope that you are ready because this is going to be deep. We'll see you in a few minutes after the break.
Dialogue. Discussion. Debate. Rebuttal. Conclusion.
Eliminate misconceptions about religion. Get enlightened.
Witness Dr. Zakir Naik in a battle of words in Crossfire every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. UK on Peace TV.
Most countries of the world ban bullying. They fight it in their schools and universities. A lot of us are being bullied differently every single day. Some come up to us and say, do this, while others say, don't you dare. Some say this is halal, while others say, nope, this is haram. Are you confused? Do you feel lost? Join me in Umdat al-Ahkam, where, with the grace of Allah, we will learn the proper knowledge from the Quran and from the Sunnah, which would help stop this kind of bullying.
Join Asim Al-Hakim in Umdatul Ahkam every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 11:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 6 a.m. UK on Peace TV. Peace TV English, the solution for humanity.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We just started answering some of the most common misconceptions, and they were with number one, which is Islam is a violent religion. The issues of jihad and terrorists and, as if it's a Muslim monopoly, okay? As if it is a Muslim monopoly. The whole world has focused on Islam, and they have actually closed a blind eye to all the other issues that are going around, all the other countries and all the other perpetrators who are causing so much injustice and killing so many people every day, while people are focusing on Islam. Actually, if you are to be objective and you look into the world and see who kills the most, and you find that Muslims are actually victims. But you see, because this guy blows himself up here, or this guy did, this terrorist attack here, oh, the Muslims. All the other terrorist attacks that are done on a daily basis, forget about, attack here every few months, or attack there, or every week or so. No doubt, we do not deny that these things happen. And we condemn these things against innocent people. For sure, Islam does not condone the attack on innocent people. For sure, Islam does not condone the attack of non-combatants. For sure, Islam does not allow suicide bombing and all these weird things that people see, these crazy things that people see on TV. No doubt about it. But you see, at the same time, Islam does not allow drone bombing and all the chemical weapons that people use and so on, and entering and violating the different countries and so on, and not caring about the authority and the validity of a country. Islam does not allow that as well. But you see, people blame one and they will ignore all the other ones. They focus on this little tree and they ignore the rest of the forest. And that's exactly what happened. And any person who's objective will say, yeah, you have a point. No doubt I have a point. Open your eyes, read the news, see what happens. Count who invades who. Count the number of people. Look at the fatalities and what's happening around. It's very simple. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. Just do your math. Just look. Just do a bit of research. Go to Google and do a little bit of research, and then you'll find, without a doubt. But see, why? Why have we been brainwashed to believe that Islam is a religion of violence? And then, of course, as I said before the break, which causes the reaction for people to start becoming apologetic and say, no, Islam is a religion of peace. And then they start changing the religion. Why? To be politically correct. To show people that, no, you're wrong. See, we're becoming spineless, actually. Becoming sometimes a little bit, cowards. Instead of actually standing strong and say, look, we do not deny what's in our faith. We did not deny that there is jihad and there is, what the Prophet ﷺ, did, and the seerah is very clear. But this is all was in good and in working for the sake of Allah and upholding the words of Allah and giving victory to the believers and to the truth. This was no oppression. This was no injustice. This was not, irresponsible killing and terrorism and all these things. No. We will argue and fight anyone, intellectually that is, to show them that this is not correct. Intellectually. Okay? As we said, to show, subhanAllah, this kind of mentality, what happens? Oh, Muslims are violent. You have to defend yourself. What's happening? What's creating? It's actually creating what you're trying to accuse us of. And just look at all the hate crimes that have taken place against Muslims. Why? Because the same thing. People are saying, oh, they're violent, they're jihadis, they're this or that. So people are scared. And when they're scared, what do? They want to defend themselves. And they see a Muslim on the street. They say, well, if, I'm not going to wait for him to attack me. I'm going to attack him first. That's exactly what happens. Look after 9/11. Look at the ignorance of people, what happened. What did they do? They started attacking Sikh people. The religion of the Sikh who wear turbans and the beard, they confused them for Muslims. In Canada, I remember, in America, that they attacked these people. They're so ignorant that they attacked them. They thought that they're Muslim. How ridiculous is that? See, because people fear what they don't. Instead of going and asking, excuse me, sir, where are you from? Oh, you okay? No, they just attacked them. They burned, Sikh temples because they thought that they're mosques. You see, ignorance of people can lead them to destruction, hatred. That's exactly what happened. Hatred was inseminated into the society because of these kind of misconceptions. Islam is not a violent religion. Islam is a religion of strength without violence. It's not violence and, perpetrating the evil things against people, rape, taking over, and so. It's not like that. But at the same time, as we said, it's not the opposite, that we are, we won't touch an ant or so. No. Islam is a religion of strength, no doubt about it. And they always use very, very, interesting. They use always the verses in Surah Tawbah. And they call them the verses of the sword. And that's why you have to be very, very careful. That yes, sometimes some people have commented and said certain things, but that does not mean that this is the correct understanding. We have said that one of our general techniques, and that we know that a commentary just from some, a scholar doesn't mean that this is a de facto, this is what Islam is about. Okay? We have to be very careful. Because these missionaries are looking for the commentary that fits their argument. Okay? They are looking for the commentary that fits their argument. So you have to be very careful that you understand, oh, so-and-so said this. Okay, fine. But that's not the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, for me, as Islam, my model is the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So we need to understand what he told us about Islam. Everyone else can be scrutinized, and we have to understand him in the light of what the Quran and the Sunnah tells us. So people have to be careful. You also have to understand who is making the accusation that Islam is a religion of violence. Is it a Christian, a person of the Jewish faith, a Hindu, a secular humanist? Who? Who is making this accusation? So you know, again, to make your answer according to that. If you talk, for example, to a Christian, you say Islam is a religion of violence. Why? Well, because Surah Tawbah says this: kill them wherever you find them. First of all, remember to our previous episodes that we said that this is taken out of context. There's a context to those verses. It talks about a certain battle. Of course, when it's in battle, as we said, it's not like we hold hands and dance or something. No, there's a war. No doubt. You're going to fight. What are you going to tell your army? Give them a flower or something like that? No. There's war. No doubt about it. See, so if it's a Christian, you have to look back to, well, what did Jesus say? He says, I was not sent with peace, I was sent with a sword. So, be careful. We look into the Old Testament for the Christian and the Jewish person. That Moses fought, that all the prophets fought. Okay? People, God ordered them to fight. How many wars? I challenge you, go look into the Bible, into the Old Testament, see how many wars, and compare the verses of war in the Bible versus the verses of war in the Quran, and see the difference. Does that make Christianity a religion of war and of violence? I ask you that question. Be fair. Does a Muslim ever attack and say, oh, your religion is a religion of violence? No. We understand the context. We understand that it's God who ordered the wars. We understand that the prophets carried the orders of God because they were the carriers of the message of God. Because in the end of the day, these are the people who are enforcing the law. And anyone who goes against the law will be enforced. What does the police do? Do they offer donuts to criminals? No, they'll punish them. Why? Because the police is the law. The same way these prophets were the law of the universe, the law of God. Therefore, they upheld that. Does the police give you a gift for breaking the law of God? No. They will imprison you, they will punish you, whatever it is. See, we don't think like that. We think only from our perspective, oh, I don't like this, therefore I will point my finger and I'll criticize that. That's not the way it is. Let's say a secular humanist talks to you, because this is difficult, right? Now you cannot go to this person and say, your Bible or your book says this. What book? They don't believe in any book. But you will see the double standard. See, the thing is that in the end of the day, most people will not follow a certain line of thought. So when you talk to a secular humanist, he has no book to be followed by. How are you going to debate them? If they accuse you and say you're a religion of violence, then simply you ask him, well, okay, so what do you support? Do you support the invasion of this country, that country? Which regime do you support? What do you believe? Which understanding should humanity follow? And then he'll say something like either our understanding of the country so-and-so, or he'll say, no, everyone should just be at peace. You say, okay, fine, but how come no one's really doing it? No, but so what? Will make you president of the world or of this country? And then you'll offer peace? Why? But someone will not agree with you. And what will happen? He'll fight you. So what will you do? You will embrace him? No, you will end up fighting him. How many times people have come up with these kind of mentalities, Be it pacifistic, be it war, be it whatever different philosophies. In the end of the day, there was some violence that took place. Even for people who had so-called non-violent protests. Maybe one person can do it, maybe two, maybe three, but in the end of the day, there will be a limit. Even if they didn't fight, still, their pacifism still caused violence. See? It's unnatural that someone will just stay there and get beat up or killed. Can everyone do it? No. Maybe some people do it? Yes. Can everyone do it? No. Even the so-called misconception of give the other cheek to your enemy, that supposedly Jesus said it. Think about it. Can everyone do that? Someone slaps you on face, you're going to tell them, okay, slap me here as well? That doesn't make sense. If, they say, give your enemy the other cheek. Okay, what? Who is your greatest enemy? Satan. Are you going to give the cheek to Satan? Okay, love your enemy? It's a very nice slogan. But when scrutinized, when analyzed, okay, we find that it doesn't make sense. Who is your biggest enemy? Love your enemy. How can you love your enemy? Who is your biggest enemy? Satan. Do you love Satan? Come on, let's be honest. No, you don't. It's a nice slogan. It means nice. Has it ever been applied? Okay, someone comes and wants to break into your house. He's your enemy. You're going to say, Tafaddal, come, please, come take over. Let me open the door for you. Oh, by the way, the safe is upstairs. Oh, my wife is in the other room. Go, please, take her. Come on, doesn't make sense. Think, brothers, think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a brain to think. We ran out of time, subhanAllah, and we're going to continue with this. I hope that you are following up. I hope that this is clear enough, inshallah. We'll be right, inshallah, back on our next episode. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you take notes. This is Defense Against Disaster, Defense Against Intellectual Apostasy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Advice.
Who was raised under the banner of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Their guidance.
Their foundation is based on the Quran and the teaching of the Messenger of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Their example.
When the sun is above the heads of the people.
Sayyid Raghi.
This young man or young lady, on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be under that shade, the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Going in the divine direction, blessing of Allah, the world of Muslim youth. Every Friday at 3:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 2 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Al-Aziz, the Almighty. Al-Wadud, the All-Loving. At-Tawwab, the Acceptor of your return. Al-Razzaq, the Provider. Al-Raqib, the All-Watchful. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. To Allah belongs the beautiful names. فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. So call Him upon them. To understand more of Allah's beautiful names, join me, your brother Majid Mahmood, on my new series.